What would you do if someone demanded you pay rent for your own house? That's exactly what happened to Charles Uche just 3 days after moving into his dream home in Nashville. But what this racist Karen didn't know was that Charles had receipts, and he was about to teach her a lesson she'd never forget. Charles Uche had spent 15 years working toward this moment. As a licensed architect who designed buildings across Tennessee, he poured his soul into creating spaces for others while dreaming of the day he'd have his own. That day finally came on a crisp October morning when he signed the papers on a beautiful craftsman-style home in East Nashville's historic district. 3 bedrooms, wrap-around porch, oak trees in the yard, everything he'd visualized during those late nights at the drafting table. "Dad, is this really ours?" His 12-year-old daughter Maya stood in the empty living room, her voice echoing off the hardwood floors. Charles knelt down, looking into her eyes. "Every square foot, baby girl. Nobody can take this from us." He'd sacrificed everything for this stability. After Maya's mother passed 4 years ago, Charles had worked double shifts, taken weekend projects, saved every dollar. This house wasn't just property. It was proof that hard work pays off. It was security. It was home. The first 2 days were perfect. They unpacked boxes, hung family photos, and Charles even built Maya a reading nook by the bay window. Neighbors waved as they drove past. Everything felt right. Then came day 3. Charles was in the front yard that Saturday morning, measuring the flower beds for a landscaping project. Maya was inside doing homework. The October sun felt warm on his shoulders as he sketched design ideas in his notebook. "Excuse me." A sharp voice cut through the peaceful morning. Charles looked up to see a white woman in her 50s marching across his lawn, her face twisted with indignation. Behind her, 2 other neighbors followed, a middle-aged couple who looked uncomfortable but curious. "Can I help you?" Charles stood, extending his hand professionally. She ignored it. "I'm Barbara Hendricks. I've lived on this street for 23 years. She said it like a weapon. "And I need to know what you're doing here." Charles felt that familiar tightness in his chest, the one that came from a lifetime of having to prove he belonged in spaces he'd earned. But he kept his voice calm. "I'm Charles Uche. I just moved in 3 days ago. Nice to meet you." "Moved in?" Barbara's laugh was cold. "You mean you're renting from the Johnsons? Because they didn't mention anything about tenants when they moved out last month." "I'm not renting. I bought this house." The words hung in the air. Barbara's expression shifted from suspicion to outright disbelief. "That's impossible. Do you have any idea what homes cost in this neighborhood?" Charles felt his jaw tighten, but he maintained his composure. "I'm well aware. I'm an architect. I've designed 3 buildings within 2 miles of here." "An architect." Barbara repeated it like she was tasting something sour. "Look, I don't know what story you've been told, but you need to contact the real owner. This is a respectable neighborhood with property values to maintain." The couple behind her shifted uncomfortably. The man, gray-haired, wearing a Titans jersey, cleared his throat. "Barbara, maybe we should." "No, Tom. Someone needs to say it." Barbara turned back to Charles, her voice rising. "I've seen this before. People move into homes they can't afford, stop paying rent, and the whole street suffers. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell me who you're renting from, and you're going to make sure your rent is paid up, because I will not watch this neighborhood decline." Charles felt heat rising in his face, but something his father taught him echoed in his mind. When they try to make you small, stand tall and speak truth. "Ma'am, I don't owe you an explanation, but I'll give you one anyway out of respect for being neighbors. I purchased this home outright. I have the deed, the title, the inspection reports, and every document proving ownership. Now, I'd appreciate it if you'd leave my property." Barbara's face flushed red. "Your property? Don't make me laugh. I'm calling the police right now to report a squatter." She pulled out her phone, and that's when Charles made his decision. He could have walked inside, locked the door, and let her make a fool of herself. But he thought about Maya watching from a window. He thought about every black family who'd been questioned in their own homes. He thought about the message this moment would send. Go ahead and call, Charles said calmly. In fact, I'll wait right here with you. Within 15 minutes, a police cruiser pulled up. Officer Martinez stepped out, a young Latino officer who'd clearly responded to his share of these calls. His partner, a black female officer named Washington, followed. Barbara rushed toward them. Officers, thank God. This man is squatting in the Johnsons' old house. He claims he owns it, but... Ma'am, let's slow down. Officer Martinez held up a hand. He turned to Charles. Sir, can you tell me what's happening? Charles pulled out his phone, his voice steady. I'm Charles Uche. I purchased this home 3 weeks ago, closed 3 days ago, and moved in immediately. This woman approached me on my property demanding to know who I'm renting from. When I explained I own the home, she threatened to call you to report me as a squatter. Officer Washington's expression shifted. Charles recognized that look. She'd seen this before too. Do you have documentation of ownership? Martinez asked. I do. Would you like to see my deed, title insurance, closing documents, or all three? By now, more neighbors had gathered. Charles saw curtains moving in windows. A man across the street stood on his porch with his arms crossed. This was about to become a very public moment. Charles pulled up his digital files, the deed with his name clearly listed, the title insurance policy, even the wire transfer confirmation for the purchase price. Officer Washington examined each document on his phone, then nodded to her partner. These are legitimate, she confirmed. Barbara's face went from red to pale. But how do I know those aren't fake? Anyone can create documents on a computer. Officer Martinez's patience was clearly wearing thin. Ma'am, these are official county records. I can verify them right now through our system. He walked back to his cruiser and spent 2 minutes on his computer. When he returned, his tone had shifted. Mr. Uche is the legal owner of this property as of October 15th. The sale is registered with Davidson County. Everything checks out. The crowd had grown to about 15 neighbors now. Charles saw the couple from earlier, Tom and his wife, whispering to each other. Looking embarrassed, Barbara stammered. I was just trying to protect the neighborhood. You can't blame me for being cautious. Cautious. Charles finally let his frustration show, though his voice remained controlled. You assumed I was a criminal because I'm black and standing in front of a nice house. You demanded I prove I wasn't a squatter before even introducing yourself properly. You threatened to call the police on a homeowner in his own yard. Officer Washington stepped forward. Ma'am, what you did is harassment. Mr. Uche would be within his rights to file a complaint. The crowd murmured. Charles saw several neighbors nodding in agreement. Tom stepped forward, his face flushed with embarrassment. Charles, Mr. Uche, I'm Tom Bradley. I live 3 houses down. He extended his hand, and this time, Charles shook it. I apologize for not speaking up sooner. Welcome to the neighborhood. Truly. Tom's wife joined him. I'm Susan. We're horrified by what just happened. Please know this doesn't represent all of us. One by one, other neighbors approached. A young couple with a baby. An elderly man with a cane. A woman about Charles's age who introduced herself as a teacher. Each offered apologies and welcomes. Barbara stood frozen, isolated in the center of what had become her own public humiliation. Charles looked at her, really looked at her. He saw fear masquerading as authority. He saw ignorance dressed up as concern. But he also saw an opportunity to choose grace over revenge. Officer Washington, I won't be filing a complaint, Charles said. But I do want it documented that this happened. Absolutely. We'll file a report. Charles turned to Barbara. Ms. Hendricks, I'm going to give you something you didn't give me. The benefit of the doubt. Maybe you were genuinely concerned about the neighborhood, but your concern was rooted in assumptions about who belongs in nice homes and who doesn't. I hope you'll think about that. He paused, letting his words sink in. I'm an architect. I've worked on projects that house thousands of people. I've designed buildings that will stand for generations. I earned this home through 15 years of 60-hour weeks and sacrifice. My daughter lost her mother, and I promised her stability. This house is that promise kept. His voice grew stronger. So no, I won't pay you rent for my own house, but I will be a good neighbor to everyone here who's willing to see me as a human being first. That's all I've ever asked. The silence that followed was profound. Barbara's eyes filled with tears, whether from shame or anger, Charles couldn't tell. She turned and walked away without another word. Officer Washington approached Charles as the crowd dispersed. That was handled with more grace than most people could manage. My father taught me that dignity isn't about how others treat you. It's about how you treat yourself in those moments. She smiled. Your father was a wise man. For what it's worth, welcome to Nashville. We need more people like you here. After the officers left, Tom and Susan invited Charles and Maya over for dinner that evening. 3 other families joined. They spent hours talking, laughing, and building the foundation of Real community. Maya pulled her father aside before bed. Dad, why didn't you yell at that lady? She was so mean. Charles knelt down, just like he had in the empty living room 3 days ago. Because, baby girl, when people try to make you small, the most powerful thing you can do is stand tall and speak truth. Anger would have made me feel better for a minute. But grace changes things for good. 2 weeks later, Charles received a letter in his mailbox. It was from Barbara Hendricks, a handwritten apology acknowledging her prejudice and asking for forgiveness. Charles never responded, but he kept the letter. Not as a trophy, but as a reminder that even in our ugliest moments, growth is possible. The house Charles bought wasn't just wood and nails. It was proof that belonging isn't given. It's claimed through perseverance, defended with dignity, and built on the foundation of knowing your worth. And nobody, not Barbara Hendricks, not anyone, could take that away.